Okay, so I decided to do this as a separate video just so I could be a bit more detailed and it wouldn't clog up our whole vlog with unnecessary detail, and those that aren't interested can just not watch it, which everyone's a winner, and you can just focus on orders and part outs. So obviously 3 months of the store has come and gone, so a chance to look back and see what I've learned, what's gone well, what's not gone well. So a quick recap. Obviously we opened the store in July 2023 with around 32,000 parts in the inventory. The YouTube channel was launched the month prior, so it charted a little bit of the lead up to that, getting the storage sorted and getting set, getting inventory in, and all of the things that were really part of the establishing of the store. And in that June, July, August, September, that 4 month period, we've managed to climb to 434 subscribers. We're more than halfway through the required viewing hours to be able to monetize the store channel, which is a fantastic achievement. I'm very proud of that. And so thank you everyone that's watching now for being part of that. Give it a like and help continue that growth if you can. The store is currently sitting as the 5th biggest in WA, which, you know, is an achievement in itself, but impressively, it's up to 56th in Australia from the last time I looked. Obviously, that is subject to change with people adding parts all the time, but we're in the top 100, definitely, and close to the top 50, which is a fair achievement, I think, for something that's really only been going 3 months. As of recording, there are 133,604 parts at 8,159 lots. And what I've come to learn is the importance of both of those figures. A lot of people just talk about the importance of variety and unique lots, but I do think the amount of parts and the volume of them is critical to getting big sales and encouraging people to order multiples and moving beyond small orders into medium and large orders. First quarter's operations are now complete. Anyone that's been watching the mini updates knows we're running at a slight loss at the moment, and I'll go into a bit more detail about that and my thoughts about where we go from now. It's clear that my enthusiasm coupled with my love of buying Lego has some issues that need to be ironed out in the next 3 months if this is going to be a viable longer term project. So it's time to review, analyse and plan for the next phase, and that's really the nuts and bolts of this presentation video today. So first up, inventory growth. It's pretty much the driver of all of the sales, and this graphic's taken from the Brick Freedom inventory status graphic, and I've added in the magenta line, which is my original forecasting of where I could get in terms of adding parts. So the original target would be to be at 110,000 by the end of this month. We're already beyond 130,000, so this chart in itself is out of date. Brick Freedom is a little bit of lag on that, and as you can see, there was a big bump in unique lots, and that was those minifigure parts. And again, whilst it was very time consuming doing that, it was a massive kick and increased sales significantly last week alone. Just a little bit of breakdown of things. So the total sales by platform, we didn't actually start Brick Freedom until midway through July, so the statistics for that aren't very reliable. So in the 2 months that we have been, the 2 full months that we have been running Brick Freedom, this is how it's kind of panned out in terms of sales from Brick Owl, accounting for 16.6% of sales. Again, we only started Brick Owl in July, so in August maybe, only in August, so it was never really going to be a significant entrant there, and it is very hit and miss. Some days you seem to get a few, and then you can go days and days without anything. September, which is probably the truest month so far, the 3rd month, it's been 27% of sales, which I think is a fair old holding its own and a decent increase on the previous month, although, we're only talking about a week's difference there. I think we started it in the second week of August. So whilst it's accounting for a little over 27% of the sales, it's an interesting platform to see where it goes. Obviously, the interface isn't quite so good, and as I've talked about in various vlogs, I think the buyer behavior is different as well. So some top line figures in terms of items, total sales and items sold. In August, total sales were 63. In September, that increased to 108. That is a growth of 71%, which is fantastic. In comparison to that, and obviously the inventory was increasing quite significantly, the growth in items sold was 104% growth, and that really matched the fact that the inventory grew quite rapidly as well over that period. So evidence that more parts equals more sales, more variety equals more sales. Whilst the average sale didn't necessarily jump up anywhere near those 2 percentages, it does show that more parts equals more sales. In terms of the revenues, obviously July there was no Brick Owl, but through Bricklink, July was a good month, the first month, and then for some reason August dipped, and I'm not really sure what that was, but was kind of lifted back up, but still not back to the still July level of Bricklink alone by the addition of Brick Owl. But you can see the difference, that 16% versus Bricklink's performance. And then through September, even with the issues that we had with PayPal, which took out at least 9 days worth of business, that's accounted for a decent month. And here's hoping that October continues that trend, although as of today, the Wednesday, there hasn't been any sales. So it is a very temperamental process, and you're never really sure what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. Again, most people will be familiar with this little spreadsheet that I've been running and talking through where I'm at, but kind of reflecting on this in the last couple of days since I talked about it on Monday, it is clear that my eBay kind of selling of sets has very much been propping up the business over the duration of the time. Without that, we would be 10 grand in the hole. So one of the things that I'm mindful of is how to replace that revenue or cut costs but still generate growth. And that is going to be the real challenge in the next 3 months, because I was relying on sets I already had, so those costs were already sunk costs from previous years, so they're not really accounted for in the financials. But what it does mean is that whether or not I continue to try and sell some of the investment sets I've got through eBay sporadically, or whether or not I really have to look at my costs, and there's a bit of forecasting later on in this deck that are going to address that. I think this month, in terms of October, the objective is to turn back into a profit, just to even the keel. There's a few capital expenditures that I wanted to get into, like some more drawers and some more storage, but I think those will have to wait through the month. I think it's going to be a case of having to push on and deal with what we've got to try and return to a surplus in order to prepare for November and December. If you follow what happens in the rest of the world, it seems that summer is a bit of a slowdown. People aren't indoors as much. They're not building as much Lego, although the Christmas period is meant to be busy. So how that'll work in Australia, I'm not entirely sure. If there are Australian Bricklink sellers on watching this, please leave a comment down below and share your experiences through this kind of fourth quarter of the year and what are usually trends like, because I'd be fascinated to know. So forecasting for the next 3 months, and this is my my goal, trying to do 5,000 a week parts, or grow the inventory 5,000 parts a week, is going to prove harder and harder. The more sales you got, the more that are going out the door. So if I'm selling 7,500 parts a month, that's a couple of thousand a week extra on top of the 5,000 that I need to be putting in to the store. So it just feels like it's not really going to be sustainable going forward. So I reassessed that to trying to put about 15,000 parts in a month, on top of those that are going out, which would mean that we would end the year at about a target of 170,000 parts in the store. I don't know where that would put us in terms of scale of the store, but it seems like that would be probably reaching the maximum capacity for storage that I'm going to have in here, kind of with new drawers and things like that, and even a couple more new kind of tubs and things like that. But that kind of feels like where we will reach our apex in terms of what we're able to do in a small former bedroom. But we'll see how that progresses. In terms of budgeting, I've never really done this kind of thing before, knowing how much expenditure you've got, kind of, based on what I've been spending. And once you take eBay out, you can see down the bottom and the grand total there, your actual surplus is like minimal, which means kind of our major outlays, which are buying parts and postage costs, although those are covered, obviously, need to be addressed. Kind of purchase of storage is a capital expenditure that we're going to have to deal with. Office supplies we're probably not too bad at. Packaging, you're going to need that on an ongoing basis, and hoping to grow the sales. So given that we did like 3,800 this month, losing a few days to PayPal, I'm hoping that we can get up and around the $4,000 worth of sales mark this month, and then see that increase slightly in November, but probably flatten out in December. And I'm being cautious there because, everyone's got a lot of expenses in December, and that might be a total overestimation of what's possible. And it may be that November, December are going to be really, really slow months. I don't really know. If they are, that means actually achieving the part target for the inventory would be easier because less will be coming out of the store, and therefore the need to have expenditure on parts will be less. Brick Owl sales, again, I've kept them very, very conservative. I have no idea how that will grow. It does seem to be very sporadic. But as the two forms of revenue, I've just kind of erred on the side of caution to see those grow. I've factored in a little bit of retail purchasing and a little bit of marketplace purchasing, just because, if there's deals on, you want to be able to pick them up. You want to be able to add variety. But I think for certainty and volume of parts, knowing what's selling, knowing what's good, knowing what's popular, I'm going to focus the next 3 months on buying parts through Bricklink or bulk lots from sellers. Like I've got a contact that has a 6,000 part package of parts that he would like me to give him an offer on. So I'm going to go back to him today on that. It's better value, and it brings in a larger hit of part numbers than going out and buying retail. Although retail needs to remain a key pillar of what you're doing in terms of adding variety and especially minifigures into the mix. So that's where we're looking. I mean, it's not a great story, ending the year just over $1,000 in profit. I would have hoped that we would be turning a great deal more than that. And it may be that some costs there will never be kind of realised, and some expenses won't be needed as well. But I thought this would give us something to benchmark as we're going forward over the next 3 months when we do these check-ins, and check back and see, how we're tracking, and was I completely off my head when I did this. So, kind of the final kind of sum up of this. So the fourth quarter goal setting really is to move from this reliance on eBay for profitability. That doesn't mean I'm not going to still use eBay occasionally. I've got quite a few kind of multiple sets in the storage unit that could be used for kind of little spurts here and there. Certainly in November, I think that might be a good idea ahead of the Christmas kind of rush. it worked well last time, kind of, late last month. It really did bring in a good hit of income, which was much needed because we'd spent so much on storage and kind of setup. Cost controls are obviously required. My spending needs to be curtailed, need to be much more strategic in what I'm doing, and think about the parts and what the punters want and what it is that I'm getting the best bang for my buck from when I'm spending. I'm going to have to take a look at managing the inventory levels to maximize the storage as well. We're getting a lot of bulk on parts, that actually I don't think I've sold any of, and that's probably down to a pricing level. So going back in and updating the Bricklink kind of pricing structure on parts that I have an awful large volume of is probably a wise move at the time, as I've said there. So I'm doubling up really, but equally kind of I suppose managing inventory levels to maximize storage means kind of making sure I'm not buying stuff that I've got lots of. I've got a tendency to order multiples and then forget what I've done a little bit, so a bit more organization there. And then, as I've said, adjusting the pricing on things that I've got an awful lot of, jumper plates, cheese slopes, modified plates, things like that. You end up with an awful lot of them coming out of sets, so making sure that you're selling them at a good price so that people are encouraged to buy them. So I'm going to start doing that this week, being a bit more tactical, a bit less kind of just blanket. Kind of you do the Brickstore file and you just do it all at once, but it'd be easier to do it kind of in sections and just kind of tailor it a bit more. I'm going to introduce the used parts that I've got in the storage unit, kind of one as a way of moving away from the reliance on eBay, but two, kind of the used stuff is there, it's zero cost, I've got it already. There's a large volume of stock there that can be added to the store, and it's older stuff as well, so I think it's going to add good variety to the store and good value in terms of interesting parts, rarer, harder to find stuff, probably got a good return on investment. Well, not return on investment, but kind of probably get a good return for a lot of it, cockpits and things like that from older sets. So I'm maybe going to pull one of those kind of bins out this week, and I'll do that as part of the vlog, or the regular vlog, because I think it'll be a good way of kind of mixing things up moving forward in the next few months. As you may have seen on the vlog last week, was it last week? Don't know. Website development has started. Going to use it for written blogs and just kind of generating a bit more traffic towards either the stores or YouTube. In order to add the YouTube monetization to the revenue stream, I do need to get to that 1,000 subscribers. So the website is a key part of generating traffic, establishing reputation, and kind of just putting the name out there for the store. So that's begun. The first vlog, the blog is up there, and so you can see the URL down the bottom there. And then finally, kind of further investigation into the GST registration and whether that's a worthwhile exercise right now. Obviously, from added income, there is a taxation requirement, and I need to work that out for the first quarter. That's on this week's list of things to do. But given that we're running at a negative, that's going to be a bit of a challenge. So GST would be an interesting one. If you're going to buy retail sets, you're going to get the GST off of it. And equally, if you were buying parts overseas, you wouldn't need to pay the GST on that. And purchases would be, you'd be able to claim the GST back. So like storage, packaging, postage, things like that. It would be a cost saving. So I'm going to do a little bit of working out this week, stroke weekend, to see whether or not, one, I meet the threshold for doing it, which I think is $35,000 worth of revenue, and whether or not it would add to the bottom line in a good way, or whether it would not. It would just add a whole load of additional work and admin beyond the stuff that you already need to do. And that's it. That's really the sum up of the first 3 months. So thanks to everyone that's been part of it. I know I keep saying journey, it's a bit cliched, but you know, it has been a bit of an adventure. It's been great fun. I've learned so much, and as a little kind of ponderer, it's great fun sitting back and thinking about this, that, and the other. Is this helping? Does that help? And I hope you're enjoying the vlogs. Thanks for watching. If you did like it, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe for next week's vlog, and I'll be doing a bit of a how-to guide series as well, in amongst things that'll kind of match up with the content that's on the blog, which is on the new website. So there'll be vlogs of the things that are in the written form as well. So that's where we're at. Thanks everybody. Thanks everyone that's purchased. Thanks everyone that's commented. Thanks everyone that's liked and shared the videos. It's been fantastic. And here's to the next 3 months. Thanks for watching.